Welcome back to a new episode of the Sporting Bears, the house of all sports. And man, what a weekend we just had. I mean, look at this.
Brag it.
Come on, brother. Look at this.
You're
Look at this.
entitled to.
Come on. You're going to have to look at my back. Look at my back. There you go. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Kansas won it.
What a
Period.
game.
End of the story.
What a game.
The Dynasty did it again. And man, what a Super Bowl we had.
Yes, it was amazing. But this is the Sporting Bears.
God, I feel so good. I told you, man. I told you.
I know.
Don't bet against them. I told you.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I feel so good.
It was what we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it in a minute.
100%, bro.
It was
my
a
God,
good
I feel
game.
so good.
It was a good game. I guess you were on the edge pretty much the entire game.
100%. That last drive, I was standing on my feet, bro. Like I was.
I can imagine. I can imagine because
not because I was doubting them being able to pull the win, but because it was so exciting to watch Mahomes come through in that final drive. It was.
I know. It was
unbelievable.
But I think overall, like, you could think about like what happened in the moment. You could feel that any team could won. Any team could won because until that last drive, like there was some excitement. The clock was running out of time. It was crazy.
We're gonna get into the details just in a second because it was such an amazing game. One for the ages for sure, man. But I'm feeling so good. I'm feeling so good that I'm wearing Crocs, bro. Look at this. You see, I'm feeling on my back. Yeah. After that, I mean, what else can I ask? It was a perfect game. So yeah, we're gonna be talking about Super Bowl during this episode, of course. So don't miss it out. But before we jump into our topics, remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Click that subscribe button right now. Turn on the notifications as well. Drop your comments, leave us a like. All of that is going to be appreciated. We're paying attention to all of that. And this is a community. You already know what it is. We're trying to build it up. So join us on this journey. But man, we have to talk about.
Let us know how it went when you were watching the game.
Yeah, did you enjoy it? Because I mean,
enjoy it.
As a football fan, whether you support Kansas or the Niners or not,
or no team that was in the Super Bowl,
it was an impressive game. And if you missed it for whatever reason, I mean, go ahead and watch that game. You have to watch that game. It was so amazing. But yeah, I'm sorry for the spoiler alert because you already know now that Kansas won. But I mean,
I don't think it's a spoiler anymore.
It's on you.
It's not.
It's on you for missing the game.
If you didn't watch it, I'm so sorry for you. But
it's on you. But yeah, let's jump straight into the action here. We're gonna talk about the game, what we saw. Man, so many crucial moments. A lot of crazy things happening. Game plans that were pretty remarkable in my opinion. But let's start with just a couple questions as we always do. Let's go with this first one, which is it's going to be a little controversial, I guess. But since Kansas won, we're going to leave Kansas for now aside for a moment. We're going to talk about the losers. I'm sorry to say it that way, but it's just the reality.
It is what it is.
They lost. It's the Niners. So the game ended 22-25. It was clearly, as you can say, by the score, a very close game all the way to the end.
Game.
It went to overtime. It was obviously the final drive in the hands of Patrick Mahomes. Like again, it was such a close game, but we have to talk about the topic that, from a Niners perspective, matters the most. Who do we blame for this loss?
For me, it was pretty clear. I mean, during the game, Brock Purdy, he demonstrated he's great. He's amazing. He could take all the pressure on his shoulders and take the team. And he did everything he needed to do to win the game. But I think his coach was the one that missed this opportunity this time. Shanahan missed it. I'm so sorry, Shanahan, but you lost the game for the entire team. It was your responsibility. Since the moment you started playing the overtime, you needed to know how to play the overtime, and you definitely did not make the right call. You did not prepare your team for this situation, and this was your responsibility. He was the coach. He was the head coach. So how come you're preparing this game for 2 weeks and you don't think there might be a possibility that you go to overtime if you already did it once when you were in the same situation just 2-3 years ago? Like, how come you're not preparing your team to face something like this? Because it started, of course, like we can go through the game and we will see the Niners dominating the Chiefs during the first half because it was very, very clear. Of course, we have to talk about whatever happened, right, with McCaffrey's fumble and then the fumble on special teams. But there were some misses on the other end, right? We saw an interception, we saw another fumble for players that we were not even expecting, right? So if we see the game, it was very, very. It was a tight game, of course. The score says that as well. But just small details define these moments, and small details define whether you're built for these or you're not. And Shanahan, how come you're not that detail-oriented coach that is prepared for these type of things, right? Overtime, it's normal. I mean, it's not even that it's something that happens once in 50 years. No, it's something that normally in a regular season you face overtime. In postseason, there's a lot of chances that you might be facing overtime. And of course, Super Bowl, it's not an exception. Of course, yeah, I know. 2 Super Bowls only, the ones that have gone to overtime. But this one in particular, we knew it was going to be a tight game. He was in the other Super Bowl that went to overtime, and you did not pay attention.
Yeah, and that was even more devastating because again, that's the Patriots against the Falcons and the epic comeback. We all know what happened on that one a few years back, and it's. I mean, for me, it's hard to put the blame on one single person here. Because at the end of the day, I think the game didn't go badly for them. Like when you analyze it from like a macro perspective, you see those stats from McCaffrey, from Purdy individually. Like all of them kind of deliver to a good level. Like it's none of them went through like greatness, right? Type of performance, but it's hard to think about just one single person because you said it right. The fumble, starting of the game, the first drive. We see McCaffrey dropping a ball for the first time in God knows how long. Like, it was his third fumble of the season. Just his third. So that already told you that game was going to come up with something really special. Because if that happens at the beginning of it, it's already a crazy thing, right? Then we saw Pacheco having a fumble as well. His first fumble of the season there. Patrick Mahomes being an interception. Being intercepted.
It's super weird to
It's
see.
the first time that it happens, I think, since the last Super Bowl he lost against Tom Brady, if I remember correctly. Or I don't know if it was the AFC title when they lost against the Bengals. But one of those two games, obviously, was the last time that he threw an interception, if I remember correctly. So a lot of weird things happening. And that fumble, it was devastating on the punt.
Yeah, that was such bad luck.
I mean, that you have to be in the right universe at the right time because, I mean, it was just... literally a millisecond that he would have before of that he would have taken his foot off or like whatever.
Just move,
bro. It was a centimeter, whatever, bro. Like it would have changed the whole thing. And so the Chiefs got lucky on that one for sure, right? Like, so based on all of those things and circumstances like that, Purdy not having a bad game, right? He actually played a very good game overall, especially in the first half. And then you look at Shanahan, and the main thing you obviously are going to start questioning is the decision on overtime, on getting the ball first. And then hearing the players publicly admitting that they didn't know how the rules went or were going to be for the OT during the Super Bowl, it was like, that's a major flag right there. Like, there is no way on earth that you go to the Super Bowl not emulating and practicing situations where you might be in overtime and it's going to be these type of scenarios, right? And then him saying during the press conference, okay, it was more of the statistics and the analytics team that is telling you you should get the third possession during overtime, because if they match on these scores, so if Kansas obviously go for a field goal and they get another possession, it's a different story, right? Because now it's a winning possession opportunity for them with just a field goal. We understand that, but I mean, are you really gonna use analytics to make that decision at that time? Like, this is, I think, if I'm not wrong, this is the first time we're playing with these rules.
Yeah, it was
overtime.
the first time.
So you don't even have statistics to say, well, this is gonna be the smart decision based on the analytics, right? Because it's just the first time, so you don't know if you're gonna get a third possession here or not.
And you're playing against Pat Mahomes.
It's Pat Mahomes. It's the Chiefs. It's Andy Reid. Like, you cannot take that chance. If you were to ask me, I think what happened is that he was trying to protect Brock Purdy on that one, because I think what he tried doing, it was just take the pressure off.
But that was wrong. That was wrong.
Of course,
he proved the whole game that he was able to deliver.
You have to trust the guy. I get
Exactly.
it. I get it. But I think that ultimately what he was doing is just protecting Brock Purdy, because if he gives the ball to Mahomes first, and Mahomes drives to touchdown as he did on that final drive, then the pressure on Purdy is going to be devastating, right? Like, we know that it's going to be a different game.
I get it.
It's going to be a different game. But still, it's all the hypotheticals, and I think that was the most important decision of the entire game that you can question on Kyle Shanahan.
But I'm gonna give you another one. Like, during the second half, they stopped running the ball.
Yeah, especially in the third quarter. Yeah,
as they were using that weapon during the first half, and the reason why they were so successful during the first half. So, but that's also part of your blame, because
100%. I'll give you that. But there is also an element when you see at the stats. I mean, you look at McCaffrey's numbers, and he was running, I think it was like for 3.6 yards per carry. Like, it wasn't that the rushing game was giving them that much either, right? Like,
but
it was not
the threat was
ineffective, but
the threat was
I think he got in love with how Brock Purdy was throwing the ball in the first half, getting some good completions. Like, I mean, the game plan was pretty well prepared for Brock Purdy not to be exposed, especially early on the game, right? Passes that he was going to be able to complete, not taking too many risks, trying to play off the play action with the rushing, normally in first downs, giving Purdy an opportunity to settle down himself, which for me was perfect, right? Because he actually delivered on that front. But again, I just can't put the entire blame on Kyle Shanahan right here. He certainly made some mistakes. Maybe a little bit of the percentage go more towards his side. But I think it's just individual performances that matter as well, like the circumstances, the fumbles, and things that you cannot control as a coach.
I mean, I get that part. But for me, and I'm going to close on this one just with this, like, you need to learn from your past mistakes. And he didn't learn from past mistakes.
It was awful.
He was awful. And that's the person that I'm blaming, because, again, Brock Purdy, he played an amazing game, the one we were not expecting.
And what happened to the defense, though? I didn't mention that. The defense kind of disappeared in the second half.
I wouldn't say in the second half.
The last four, I mean, look at the last four drives.
Towards the fourth
it's the last four drives. It's a touchdown, field goal, touchdown. That's the game.
But still, you're playing against a great offense, right? Like, you're playing against Pat Mahomes again.
No, for
right?
sure,
so,
for sure.
But of course, you're gonna get tired at some point.
They contained them through the first half.
It was a remarkable.
And the one thing that also kind of like got my nerves is when Kyle Shanahan called a timeout because of what the defense was planning to do on a specific play, and I was like, "What is going on here? Like, you're not trusting your defensive coordinator. Like, what is going on?
That's
right?
the thing. Like,
you don't see that with Andy Reid.
Yeah,
and his backs.
Exactly.
Like, that's just not going to happen.
That's all you have to say. And that's, we're gonna go through that one as well. But let's
move into that conversation, because again, I mean, it was devastating for the Niners, but I mean, you had plenty of chances to put the Chiefs away early in the game, especially. Yes. And again, the missed field goal. the extra
The
point.
extra point. Yeah.
It was that haunted for the rest of their game and the rest of their lives because the Chiefs were able to tie the game in the final drive because of that point that they were
Yes,
missing.
exactly.
So again, a lot of things that happened that went out of the hands of Kyle Shanahan. So I don't put the full blame on him. Of course, I do put a big percentage on it, like maybe 40%, then
No,
like 20% to the players,
I would say
and
more.
40% to the circumstances. Because again, those are things
Yeah,
that you don't.
I know.
I
Some
mean, you
luck
can't control.
was,
so
was
yeah,
there. Some luck was there, but
so yeah.
still.
From the rest of the percentage, I'll give the majority to
The thing
Shanahan
is, he has
for
the
sure.
experience. He's the most experienced in that team in Super Bowl appearances.
Yeah,
So-
for sure. Like again, you would expect him to have, and especially that thing on the OT. I just don't understand how they don't prepare for that. Like, you have to prepare for that. Like,
And the same happened when the Falcons lost to the
Patriots,
To
yeah.
Patriots. Like they stopped running the ball during the second
yeah,
half.
it's,
then
Justin was a problem.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
And
overall,
on the other side, Andy Reid.
Andy Reid. Yeah, let's move into Andy Reid because, I mean, what a remarkable run! What an incredible coach.
Amazing.
We talked about this a couple episodes ago. He is certainly in the GOAT conversation. He might not be at the level of winning, obviously, that Bill Belichick is, but he is certainly in the top 4 or 5 coaches of all time, easily. And with this Super Bowl win, I think the biggest question becomes not only how close he is getting to those guys, because again, we talked about it that in the past, but how much does this win separate him from the rest of the league?
And I think it's a lot. Like he's putting a lot of room between him and the rest. Because seeing what happened yesterday, seeing how this team played during the postseason, because we've talked about this in previous episodes, this is a different team than the one we were seeing during regular season, which is remarkable as well for the whole team, but for him, because you must have some skills to make this team play the way they played yesterday, the way they played during the whole postseason, playing against the Dolphins, we've said it, against the Bills, against the Ravens, the way they played against those teams, the strategy that he was using, it's different. Like how he sees the game, how he prepares the game, how he adjusts during the game, it's amazing. And I know during the Super Bowl you have a longer pause, right, during the first quarter, well, the first half and second half, because it's around 25-30 minutes, something like that. But he was able to adjust the team, and boy, oh boy, what happened, right?
Yeah,
during
that final
third quarter,
drive is an Andy
fourth
Reid
quarter,
classic.
It's
It was
exactly
so
the
perfect.
calls. Like he's the one that's always making the calls for the offense, right? So he knew when to send Mahomes, right, to carry the ball, and
That fourth down
and when not
right there,
to.
with the game on the line. I mean,
It
the
was
read option.
just way too much, and he's
knew.
proven that he's in a league of his own as a head coach. He's just in a different league right now.
Yeah.
I don't see anybody right now that it's getting close to what he is able to do and how or what he's able to deliver with this team.
Yeah, he is out coaching everybody. We saw it against the Bills. We saw it against the Ravens as well, and we saw it again yesterday. And the ability to adapt and to adjust throughout the game, and just trust, obviously, Mahomes, which is an easy task at this point.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't? But again, trust your players overall. Like
But
we're seeing
overall, the whole team.
again, we're seeing. I mean, receivers that are not first, second, third options getting calls from Andy Reid, right? Like the corn dog, especially, which is this final play that they
Exactly.
the winning
one.
play on the OT drive, which they repeat from last year's Super Bowl against Philadelphia as well. I mean, all of those things matter, and it tells you how well prepared his coaching staff is, because it's not only himself. Again, we talked about Spags in the last episode, and we gave him his credits. He deserves the same credits again this week, because whatever he's doing with this defense, man. I mean, you see Chris Jones. Chris Jones stopped by himself 3 potential touchdowns. The pass to Deebo Samuel on the end zone. Then the pass to Juwan Jennings when he was pressuring
Yeah,
Brock Purdy in the
sideline.
OT that settled them to a field goal in OT. Like McDuffie, a rookie that came in and this year has been developing his game all the way to becoming an All-Pro.
And that's all coaching.
It's all coaching, man.
That's all coaching.
Like you see all over the place, the defense, the offense, the drops percentage just started decreasing. Obviously, in the postseason, we haven't seen many, or we didn't see many drops
Maybe
by
we
the
saw
Chiefs.
one.
A couple, yeah,
Yesterday,
a
probably
couple.
two.
And throughout the entire postseason, so that speaks about how he trusts this team, how he builds this team, how all of them wants to improve, and all of them want to work for Andy Reid and just be on the same page as him. Because even what we saw with Kelsey when he bumped and he was screaming at Andy Reid in the middle of that after the Pacheco's fumble. I mean, all of those things when you're a coach and you understand and you know how to handle those, that speaks levels about you. Because any other coach would have probably benched Kelsey after that.
I would.
Right?
I would.
It could have very well happened, but we understand what Kelsey represents for that offense. We saw what he did in the second half when he got, I think, eight of his nine receptions in the second half for almost, 193 yards, I think it was.
Yeah.
93 yards for Kelsey. And all of those things and how he handled them and how he trusts his unit is just remarkable. How he trusts his defensive coordinator and Spags is remarkable. And it's
he deserves another chance as a head coach for me.
Spags?
Yes.
I don't. Yeah, of course he does, but I don't think he wants that.
No, I don't think
he's gonna look for that anytime soon.
Or not anytime soon.
Because
but he deserves
things are going so well for them. I think he's sticking, and this crew is gonna be back. And man, I'm sorry for the rest of the league, but if they're back next year, and especially if they're able to keep Chris Jones in that team, forget about it. Maybe get another second receiver, second option for Mahomes. Add a couple of pieces through the draft or something. But this team doesn't seem to need much more to continue competing, right?
Like to be slowing down.
As long as you have Mahomes healthy, as long as Kelsey stays committed and focused in the game, because again, after this Super Bowl, who knows if he starts thinking about other things. But it seems like they're here to stay, and they're here to continue running and continue trying to pursue
and
more rings.
Dynasty. Yes.
Yeah, they said it after the game ended in the interviews how this is just the start of the dynasty. That's Mahomes' words, and yeah, if they're able to stay together, I think it's gonna be hard for the rest of the league to stop
it's a matter of how you rebuild little by little. Your team to make sure that it stays young and like.
Yeah,
you
just
need
like
to play
they
smart.
did after the Tyreek Hill trade. Because again, Tyreek Hill's trade, when you think about it, that trade is the reason why they have McDuffie, and the reason why they have who's the other guy that they drafted with that? I think it's who is it? I can't remember. But they got another player on the defensive side that through that draft through that trade with Tyreek Hill, and. Man, just the development. Again, everything is so fluent with this team. It's just, it looks like it's the perfect. And again,
they know how to
when you
handle
have these type of situations, the other thing we need to mention is the rest of the league is going. I mean, they're interested in joining these dynasties, right? Like you will see probably free agents, even willing to take less money to join Kansas and Andy Reid and his coaching staff.
It's like what Brady did with the
right
with New England, right?
Right, and I think that's one of the most dangerous things for the rest of the league, which is again, even if they were to lose Chris Jones, which is pretty much, I'm not gonna say it's unreplaceable, but it's almost like it. Mm-hmm. Even if they lose him, there is somebody else that is gonna
be willing to be there.
Exactly. But hopefully,
as Tom Brady did it, like
hope Chris Jones doesn't leave, man. Oh my God, we need him to stay. But yeah, I mean, Andy Reid is at a different level. He is at a different class from the rest of the league, and it's pretty clear. It's pretty obvious. And until somebody proves us wrong, he is gonna stay as the top coach on the NFL right now. But let's move on some of the other things that we saw during that game. And again, it's just a back-to-back Super Bowl win by the Chiefs, which is the first time this happens since since 19 years. Like it's been 19 years since the last time.
It's the second time in the decade.
2003, 2004 with the Pats. What are we thinking here? Do we see this being a three-peat? And how much, if that were to happen, how much? Let's talk about Mahomes for a second here. How much would a three-peat put Mahomes closer to that GOAT conversation, or just even maybe become the GOAT?
I don't think become. Not yet. Not yet. Let's hold it for just some more years. Still, for me, championships are the ones that speak in this specific scenario, right? Because we're talking about comparing him against Brady, and those are major words. But I think a three-peat probably would put him not just into the conversation or in the conversation, but it would put him like with the possibility to sit at least next to him. No, I don't think it's going to put him on the position to take the throne, but it's going to put him in the position to be next to him. Like when we are going to talk about Tom Brady, as we talk about Tom Brady, and we also talk about Montana, right, and Bradshaw, and great Manning, yes, great quarterbacks. Manning just
he doesn't have the titles, but
exactly.
I mean,
but
for
the
many
talent,
years,
the talent,
for
yeah.
sure.
He and they had the great rivalry, right? But still, like we can talk about those other quarterbacks when we talk about Tom Brady. So for me, it's kind of similar with Mahomes. I think if he gets the three-peat, we can already consider him to be part of that elite of quarterbacks that are not just like the quarterbacks that won, but are the quarterbacks that are legends. And I mean, he probably is already a legend. If he ends his career today,
Yeah,
he's already a legend because
Hall of Famer, first ballot Hall of Famer.
He is
with this
already.
resume already.
But of course, the more difficult years are still to come. Years when you're getting older, when you already have some years right in your back, playing football, some hits. You need to stay healthy. It's more difficult.
Yeah, longevity matters. Yeah,
exactly. So of course, these years are still, yet to come for him. I think he still has a couple of 2, 3, 4 years at the top level. I'm not saying that he's going to go down right after that.
He's 28.
It's going to be more difficult for him to, of course, keep the pace. And we saw it even with Tom Brady, right? We saw it with Manning. We've seen it before. So the challenge is still there for him. So I think it's going to, of course, a three-peat. It's going to put him on the table.
Time that happens, if they manage to do it
and
pull it together next year, is going to be the first time in the history. Nobody has done it since obviously the Super Bowl era.
Exactly. I know, but still not number 7 or number 8.
I don't think. You see that I have a problem with that argument.
It's for what Tom Brady was able to build, not just with the Patriots. He of course built something amazing with the Patriots, but he had the guts to go to a different team,
right,
and win with that team just in his first year when he was 40. Like for me, it's about what he was able to build, right?
Yeah, no, of course, what Brady did is special. Obviously, we understand that today he continues to be the GOAT. For me, he's still the GOAT. But I have a problem with the 7 title thing, and I think we talked about this before, where when we go back to the NBA and we say, well, Bill Russell, 11 titles, and we don't think about him being the GOAT just simply because he has more titles than MJ, right? I think in here it's going to be kind of the similar situation where we're going to be, like, to me, we're going to be able to put Mahomes as the GOAT maybe with 5. Like, I think 5 is the threshold. Like, if he gets 5, he gets a couple more, obviously, Super Bowl MVPs potentially within that same spectrum. I think that gives him enough because of the type of talent, because of the type of things we have seen him done, that most of us can argue Tom Brady was not going to be able to do, physically speaking, as a talent, right? So if you value the intangibles, because again, we see this a lot when it comes to the NBA and the GOAT argument, and when people say, "Oh, MJ and versus LeBron,"
it's gonna be like that in any sport.
Right,
anyway.
right, for sure. It depends on what you value the most, based on your own eye test, right? Because again, the leadership is there. We can say, right, like, he is taking this team to another level when they need him. I mean, look at the numbers. 8-2. I think it became 9-2 yesterday.
Yeah.
Went down by 7 points, or went down by 7 points. 3-1 went down by 10. They only lost there, obviously, to Tom Brady in the Super Bowl.
That's your answer.
It's but I mean, I get what you're saying, right? Like, it's an unfinished business, and it's something that is gonna be obviously in the resume of Pat Mahomes. Losing to Tom Brady, would that mean you would never be able to surpass him in the GOAT argument?
It's not fair.
I mean,
but this is very subjective. That's the thing. So it's about perspective.
Again, like, for me, he's not there.
We can discuss about GOATs all we want, right? And we're gonna have different point of views because we appreciate different.
It would be crazy because then you would say, well, he lost against Tom Brady, but Tom Brady never got a three-peat. You know what I mean? Like, you'll be able to say things from each other that.
But Mahomes hasn't. He has the chance. Of
course, he needs to be able to do it first.
Brady
obviously
had the chance as well, right? Like,
100% he did. But that's what I'm saying. Like, if he gets 5, and then again a few more individual accolades along the way through that, and then if he continues to have a career, we need to talk about. And I said it just a moment ago. Longevity matters, right? So if he has a long career and he's able to pursue some of the statistical records as well, so total yards, total touchdown passes, like. Some of those things might be within the reach of Pat Mahomes if he continues to play at this level for a long period of time. So I think he has a very, very solid case to become the GOAT if he wins 5, and again he gets some of those other things along the way.
Yeah,
no, I wouldn't hold it against him if he doesn't get the 7.
I agree.
Like, I would be willing to put him as the GOAT even with 5.
I just believe it's still too early.
No, for sure.
To put him there, right?
For him to be named the GOAT today, that's delusional. Like, we cannot diminish.
We need to wait.
Even you can even argue that he hasn't passed Montana yet, right? Because he's got his 3rd ring. Montana got 4. Montana never lost in a Super Bowl. I mean, we saw those Niners, at least through the highlights, because I wasn't even born, I think, many of those years. But you get the point. We have seen what Montana, like, was, right? Like, he was special, and obviously, again, we can argue that he hasn't passed Montana even. So he needs to get there first, then go to Thanos and then try to beat him in Brady, right? Which is inevitable. But I think that, again, to my point, I just don't see him needing 7 to pass Tom Brady. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. He's still, like, he doesn't have 7, and I think it's going to be very difficult for him to get to 7, even with the dynasty they have right now. It would be a major thing to achieve. But still, I think, yes, with couple more Super Bowls, probably some individual accolades, he's going to be able to be there. I just think we need to wait a little bit longer. But again, this is a matter of subjectivity. So if you think he's already in the conversation, drop the comment. Let us know what you think about. So
let us know in the comments. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, why not also subscribe to the channel? It's free. Imagine that. It's free. It's a free thing. Can you imagine that? Being able to subscribe free to a channel? Who would have thought that? Oh my God. Anyways, talking about dynasties and the Chiefs, obviously, which, again, I just don't see how someone could say today that they are not a dynasty already. But, you know, the interesting thing with this win by the Chiefs is Where do we put this Chiefs dynasty when we compare it to some of the previous dynasties we have seen in the past, like the Patriots, the Steelers back in the Terry Bradshaw era, like
Niners,
right,
probably.
right.
I think they're in the conversation for one of the greatest. I'm not gonna lie. For me, like we're talking about the third one, the third Super Bowl in 4 attempts.
Yeah.
This is just amazing. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's been an amazing 5-year stretch. It's crazy.
it's hard to believe that nowadays we still have these type of dynasties, building up in the NFL when it's very difficult to build a team with the cap that you have to go every year. You have to go through every year, and with all the money that it's moving around with players, of course, wanting to secure their future. It's even more difficult to build these type of dynasties.
Yeah.
And for me, that gives them even an extra ingredient to be in the conversation of one of the greatest dynasties we've seen in this sport. The one that we haven't seen since the Patriots, that it was a long one, right? With some...
I guess that's an interesting
with
thing
a hole
about
in
that
the
one.
middle,
Yeah,
but
I was about to say that because again, you can argue that the Patriots is not one dynasty; it's two separate dynasties,
Exactly.
right? Like you could potentially divide them, and then if you divide those two, then it even gets more interesting because I think that the Chiefs will be even closer to matching one of those two halves at least.
yeah, no, I think they already matched it.
Right, because again, we
Either
saw
one.
yeah, for sure. Because we saw the longevity of the Patriots, but there was a bucket of like 8. I think it was 10 years. I think 10 years,
8,
right?
10 years, something
10
like
years
that. Yeah.
without a ring for Tom Brady and the Patriots back then, and yeah, when you think about the Steelers back then, the Niners. I mean, we have seen very good stretches from even Dallas at some point, like in the past,
At some point,
right?
it's very old already, but yeah.
I mean, I'm willing to say that they are within kind of like that top 5 already with just this run.
I would say top 3 already. Top 3 because of the way they won this one.
Yeah, that was an impressive run.
Because it was
this
an
year
impressive
was
run.
a pretty impressive run. Going through
And last year and repeating and
yeah.
And the last 5 years, I mean, they lost against Tom Brady only and against
6 AFC titles, bro. 3 Super Bowls in the last 4 years?
5
5
3
years.
out of 5.
Imagine, like
That's crazy. That's crazy.
It's so hard to get back to the Super Bowl, to get back to the AFC or NFC title every year. I mean, and this team is doing
have seen it
like
only
it's
twice.
nothing. Yeah, and this team is doing it like it's nothing. Like they're just walking through the people, whether if it's at Kansas or now this year playing on the road, and they have proven that they can do it all. Like they can do it all. They can win with a great offense of explosive players. Back when they had Tyreek Hill. And Tyreek Hill left, which by no means is a small loss.
Mm-hmm.
And they recovered from that. They built their defense from that trade, like I said before. And now they have proven that they can win in a different way based on their defense as the foundation, and then leaving the important moments for Pat Mahomes to deliver, which he will. So again, even that from that perspective, you see how this team it's constantly adapting and adjusting and evolving and learning. And again, I just don't see how this is going to stop.
And overcoming those challenges, and it's just again.
I
for
feel
me,
sorry
it's
for
one
the rest of the league, man.
Yeah,
I really do. Because again, we see the moves going on in the coaching staffs. We see Harbaugh coming to the Chargers and people hiring and doing, and Justin Jefferson asking for a trade. Like we see all of these things happening, and obviously, I mean,
it's just to of course, it's to beat the dynasty. Of course, the teams know that they have to prepare big time if they want to.
They have to go through the Chiefs. Like you have to be. Again, you must have as part of your board when you're preparing your season in the off season is like beat the Chiefs. Like that's the first thing you gotta put on your board, because you're gonna have to go through them. Like they've proven over and over again.
And I'm gonna say this: I'm not a Chiefs fan. I've never been one.
There you go. Be my guest, brother.
And no, I'm okay. It's okay. I still enjoy watching them play because it's always great, and that's one of the advantages of having a very bad team nowadays that it's not even competing against the league. Because you can watch football and enjoy,
You just don't care anymore.
and yeah, it doesn't matter who's winning or
Right.
losing. But yeah, it's one of the greatest things to see them play and see how they are able to endure and just be a great team. It's been amazing. So yeah, I mean, this is one of the greatest dynasties, and we can talk a little bit more. I think if they get the three-peat, we can talk about this dynasty against dynasties in other sports as
Right.
well,
Yeah,
because it
it's-
would be in the
For
conversation.
real. Now you were
For
talking
sure.
about the Bulls with their three-peats and Jordan and then the Yankees in the early 2000s
And the Warriors, for example.
Yeah, well, it's
The
just
recent Warriors.
everybody's gonna argue that just because they got Kevin Durant,
I know,
they're
but
gonna.
still, I mean,
it was still
like,
impressive
it's
for
still
real. Like, for me, it
impressive.
was still impressive. But yeah, certainly we can start talking about other dynasties across sports, and if they manage to do it again, one of the key elements is gonna be how if they manage to keep Chris Jones, I think that's gonna be it. Like
Or if they
the
manage to
focus
bring
of
someone.
yeah, but it's hard, bro. Like Chris Jones is certainly a top 3 pass rusher right now, defensive end on the league, right? Like you
Yeah,
you
yeah.
put the Bosas in there, it's Chris Jones, is Bosa, and I don't know, man. After that, TJ Watt, like what do you want to add? Like it's gonna be hard to find somebody to replace that without having to pay him the same amount you will have to pay Chris Jones, which is again the only problem that the Chiefs might have, which is they might not have enough money to pay him as other teams will. So we saw Chris Jones
But I
saying
don't
that he
think
was
he's
he was ready to stay. He wants to
Exactly,
pursue that
exactly.
three-peat. So I imagine that Chris Jones is gonna be willing to take a little less. Although, I mean, I wouldn't blame him if he wants to take a bigger deal and just leave because he has done it all for this team. He
Yes.
has. I mean, he played his heart out every single snap, and we saw yesterday he put Purdy on pressure. And man, I still don't understand how nobody covered the guy
I have no idea.
on that third down.
Again,
It was so great.
Those
Like he
decisions.
just run by everybody
It was
and
like-
nobody touched him,
like
bro.
walking like in his house, like he was like
Oh
just
my
like,
god, how, bro? How did you not double or triple team the guy? You know, it's like I was expecting that, to be honest. Like he was gonna be double the whole game and he wasn't.
It's the obvious decision, but yeah.
Anyways, that cost him the game pretty much. So kudos to Chris Jones, who could have very well been a Super Bowl MVP as well as some of the other guys that made impressive plays throughout the entire night. Man, what a game for the history. It was so
It
good.
was amazing.
It was so
amazing.
good.
I enjoyed it.
I mean,
so
we
much.
got a free quarter,
Quarter,
an extra
yes.
quarter of football in the last game of the
entire
season.
quarter.
In the
Entire
last game of the season, man. What else could you ask from a Super Bowl? And I can't wait for the next season, man.
I'm
I
just
can't
waiting
wait.
for August to be here. That's
I
all. That's
can't
all.
wait,
I
bro.
want
we have to go through the
preseason.
draft because it's gonna cause probably some interesting checks
And free
around it for some teams.
agency, You know.
Yeah,
it's
for
gonna be
real.
interesting as well.
But yeah, I guess
was a great-
I
it
guess
was a
the Niners
great-
are gonna be back in the conversation. I don't know what happened to Kittle yesterday. By the way, we didn't mention that the guy just disappeared on that matchup against Kelsey, who managed to had a terrible first half, but he came back.
amazing
Obviously,
second
Kittle, we saw he was like I think he was his shoulder
Yeah,
that
the-
was
the
bothering him.
shoulder.
But before that, unless he was already injured and nobody knew about it, I thought if the Niners wanted to have a better chance of winning that game, it was going to be through Kittle. And the guy was just nowhere to be found.
I mean, some weapons for the Niners disappeared.
Yeah, you
During
can say
big
Divo
part of the
Samuel
game.
and Ayuk, Brandon Ayuk, were pretty well controlled by the defense, right? McDuffie and Snead
But
did a
that's when
great
you
job.
That's when you need like. That's
Exactly.
when you
That-
need your team, your players to do something different.
Exactly, and that's why I was kind of scared a little bit of the type of game Kittle was gonna be able and was gonna have, and he didn't, and I'm glad he didn't because at the end that's the reason why the Chiefs won. Well, not the only reason clearly, but
Yeah,
I mean
yeah.
that's one of the reasons why they were able to pull this one out, because it's at some point it was just so stagnant that offense, like they were not finding a way to move the ball. So again, so many wasted opportunities for Niners. But again, I think they're gonna be just fine. Obviously, Brock Purdy is gonna be their quarterback moving forward
Yeah, for
because
sure.
he didn't.
He
didn't-
deserves that. He already
the game he played.
won the right.
It was clear that you don't need to panic right now and change the quarterback. So they can run it back one more year with a low salary on him and still see and maybe see if they can win it. But yeah, man, these two teams are gonna be back at it next year. I bet. Not necessarily in the Super Bowl and to fight for it all.
They're gonna be there.
But they're gonna be in the playoffs,
the
and it's gonna be one of those teams, both of them in the NFC and AFC, that other teams will have to go through if they want to get to the Super Bowl. So, kudos to Kansas, man. Well-deserved win after all the doubts.
You deserve it,
man. I went perfect in the last 3
yes
weeks. Oh my God, man. Damn it, bro.
Congrats.
Jesus, I'm so good at this, bro. I'm so good at this. Oh, my God. Yeah, I can't wait for the next season, man. But, yeah, that's going to be it for today. We had a quick one. We wanted to focus, obviously, on the Super Bowl because, man, it deserved all the attention. What else can I say?
Because what a game we had.
Yeah, it was so amazing. So amazing. Again, I was on the edge of my seat for long periods of time, and then I stand up. I couldn't just hold it, man. Like, I was walking like all over the place. I mean, what an exciting game. Yeah, so yeah, that's gonna be it for today. We're gonna get back at you next week. So this week we're not gonna have an episode on Friday. We're taking a quick, I don't know if we should call it a quick break, but it's kind of a quick break.
It's a pause.
Yeah, and then we're gonna come back at you at the beginning of next week with more action. The NBA weekend, the All-Star weekend is coming. So we're gonna be
Champions League's coming.
We have Champions League starting tomorrow, and yeah, unfortunately, we're not gonna have football for a while, but baseball is gonna be coming soon. We talked about Formula One the other day. That's also coming. So there you go. We're gonna have a lot of topics to continue covering.
Everything's moving. This universe never stops.
Yeah, make sure you subscribe to the channel because all of those topics are coming your way, and yeah, you don't want to miss all the action.
Exactly.
Drop comments, likes, all the good stuff. Follow us on socials. And we're going to come back at you next week. That should be it, man. That should be it. Oh, my God.
My man, congrats again.
I'm so proud, man.
I know you enjoyed it. So
don't ever bet against Pat Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs in your life, okay? Take that as a lesson.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Peace.